Hello guys, how are you? I hope you're fine. Today I'm gonna talk about modal verbs and this is a grammar lesson. Firstly, let's know what are the objectives of our today's lesson. We will learn the different uses of the modal verbs, we will have a discussion, we will answer some exercises. Firstly, let's read this dialogue together and notice the words in red. Let's go shopping. I have got a quite number of things to buy, and I believe I can get them all in this shop. You see, I ought to buy a present for my friend. He has invited me to his birthday. What shall we look at first? Spanners, I think. They must on the ground floor. Yes, here we are, and I can see just the kind I want. Well, that didn't take us long. Now let's go up by the escalator to the third floor. We will just take a quick look around to see if there is anything we could take back as a present for my friend. I like these planes. And do you? Shall we ask how much they are? I want to get a hammer and some nails. Where do you think I can find them? Oh, you must go to the carpentry department. That's on the lower floor, I believe. We will get them on our way out. How do you like those files just over there on the right? I like them very much indeed. They're perfect for him as he is a carpenter. Do you think they're good? They look just about right. You should surprise him. Okay. Can you here notice the words in red like can, shall, ought to, must, could, should? All of these words are called modal verbs. Firstly, what do we mean by modal verbs? Modal verbs actually are auxiliary verbs just like be, do, and have because they work together with the main verb. So after the modal verbs, I have to put the main verb in an infinitive form without to. For example, like I can get. Shall we look? They must be. Can see, could take, shall ask, can find, must go, should surprise. Okay, so the modal verbs are auxiliary verbs and actually they use to express something and they have purpose. Now let's see what are the purposes or the uses of these modal verbs. Let's have a look at the first modal verb we have, which is can. I use can to talk about ability, suggestion, or request. For example, he can find any street in London. That's an ability. You can take a taxi. That's a suggestion. Can you take me to Victoria Station? And this is a request. Be able to. I use be able to talk about ability. For example, he is able to find any street in London. Can't. I use can't to talk about certainty that something is impossible. So I'm sure that something is impossible. So I can't say, that story can't be true, I'm sure. Could. I use could to talk about ability, request, or suggestion. For example, I could play tennis when I was younger. Could you take me to Victoria Station? You could take a taxi. May. I use may to talk about possibility or formal request or permission. For example, it may be quicker to travel by train. May I come in? Might. I use might to talk about possibility. For example, it might be quicker to travel by train. Must. I use must to talk about obligation or certainty that something is true. I'm sure that something is true. For example, you must be back at 10 o'clock. So here I make an obligation. You must be back at 10 o'clock. Or you will be banished, for example. Look at the snow. It must be cold outside. Here, when I say the snow, I'm sure that it's cold outside. So I say it must be cold outside. Have to. Have to also used to talk about obligation. For example, you have to be back at 10 o'clock. Need to. Need to, have to, must. So, each one of these are used to make an obligation. For example, you need to study a lot. Needn't. Needn't used to talk about lack of obligation. For example, you needn't have a university degree. Mustn't. I use mustn't to talk about prohibition. For example, you mustn't drive without a license. Don't have to. Also don't have to, I use it like needn't to talk about lack of obligation. You don't have to call the taxi. So that's a lack of obligation. Should and ought to, both used to talk about opinion or advice. For example, I can say you should drive more carefully, or also I can say you ought to drive more carefully. Okay, now let's talk about can and could. Can and could, both of them are modal verbs, which means that they are auxiliary verbs, okay? And we can use can to talk about possibility and ability make and make requests and ask for or give permissions. For example, she can cut the wood with a handsaw. John can tie the working place. Okay? Could also is an auxiliary verb or a modal verb that I can use to talk about ability and possibility. But take care. I use could to talk about ability and possibility in the past. So here, the difference between could and can in present, could in past. Can, ability and possibility in present, and could in past. For example, I could prepare tools and components when I was 5 years old. My grandmother could cut the board along the market cutting line. Should and shouldn't. We use should and shouldn't to give advice or to talk about what we think is right or wrong. You should means something like I think it's a good idea for you to go or to do it. So I advise you to do it. For example, you should verify if the dimension is correct. You shouldn't mean something I like think it's bad idea for you to do it. For example, you shouldn't leave the working place without tidying. Should is used to express the opinion of a speaker and often follows I think or I don't think. Okay. Must and can't. I use must and can to express probability in the present. And the structure is modal verb plus infinitive without to. So I can say must be, must have, can't go. I can't use to. We use must to express that we feel sure that something is true. So I'm sure that this thing or that thing is true. For example, they must be mechanics. Look at their tools. We use can't to say we are sure that something is impossible. It can be spanner. It's plastic. So because it's plastic, I'm sure now it's not spanner. Okay. May, might, could. I use may, might, or could to express probability in the present also. And the structure is modal verb plus infinitive without to. Maybe, might do, could go. We use may or could or might to say that it's possible that something will happen or is happening. So will happen in the future or is happening now. For example, they may become tomorrow. I'm not sure actually. Okay? He might be away on holiday. He could be away on holiday. He might be offered the job. Okay, now let's know how to use may, would, can and could in requests, permission, invitation, and offers. Firstly, when I have to ask people to do things or when I make requests, I use can or could. For example, can you wait a moment, please? Or I can say also, could you wait a moment, please? So I use can and could to make requests. Okay, when I ask for things or to ask for someone's or something, we use can I have or could I have. For example, can I have these scissors, please? Could I have the drill, please? Okay, to offer to do things or to offer to do something, we sometimes use can I. For example, can I get you a cup of tea? Can I get you a cup of tea? Can I help you? So all of these are offering ways. Okay, and I use can I to offer to do things. When I ask for and giving permission, I can use can, could, or may. For example, hello, can I speak to Tom, please? Could I use your pen knife? Do you think I could borrow your pliers? May I come in? To give permission, we use can or may. For example, you can use the hammer or you may use the plane. Offering and inviting. To offer or to invite someone, we use would you like. We don't use do you like. So be careful here. I don't use do you like when I offer or when I invite someone. For example, would you like a cup of tea? Would you like to come to my workshop tomorrow evening? So I don't say do you like to come? Do you like a cup of tea? No, I say would you like to offer and to invite someone. Okay. As we said that the purpose of have to and must, I use them to talk about necessity and obligation. Must refers to obligation which comes from the speaker and may be directed at the speaker or the listener. So, when I say, I really must give up smoking, I'm talking to myself. I'm the speaker and I'm talking to also the speaker, directed at the speaker. So the speaker to the speaker, okay? The next one, you must keep your balance on the ladder. Excellent. I'm talking to the listener. So this one is directed at the listener. So speaker to speaker or speaker to listener. Okay? That when I use must. Okay? So must when I make or when I give an obligation or necessity, but from the speaker to speaker or speaker to listener. Mustn't is used to express that it's necessary not to do something. For example, you mustn't smoke in the workshop. Okay, let's have a look at have to. We use have to express external obligations which come from outside of the speaker. So take care. Here I use have to talk about obligation from outside. It's not from the speaker. Okay? So must from the speaker, maybe to the speaker himself or to the listener, but have to from outside of the speaker. These may be rules and regulations imposed by an external authority. For example, I have to close the books with the cover. Do you have to wear a helmet at your workshop? Okay, so this is about have to. Express external, okay, obligations. I use have to express external obligations. Okay, to talk about absence of obligation is expressed with the negative form of have to. So I say, I don't have to. He doesn't have to. Okay? So I don't have to get up early tomorrow. It's a holiday, so I can't. So I can't get up late because it's a holiday. Okay? So have fun. Okay, that's all. Now you have to answer these questions in your own, okay, in your homework. So this will be a homework. Okay, thank you so much for your watching. I hope you find it helpful and see you soon.